Exit algorithms. Scale smarter. Sell stronger.
Welcome to Exit Algorithms, the podcast where we decode what it really takes to unlock growth, streamline operations, and prepare your business for a high-value exit. I'm your host, Pete Vera, and today we have Tyler Osborne in the building. He's the founder and CEO of Blessed Family Ventures, host of the Money Master podcast, and an inspirational speaker with over 15 years of experience in wealth structuring and capital gain strategy. Tyler, super excited to have you, man. Welcome to the show.
I appreciate you having me on, Pete. What's going on, man?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm excited to get into this. Yeah, how about, do you mind just starting off? Can you share a bit about your background and how you share your business journey? From what I've read, it's really unique arc there. I'm excited for listeners to hear it.
For sure. So I grew up, born and raised in the east side of San Jose. For those of you who don't know what that is, it's basically the hood. Let's just be real. Majority of my friends growing up are now they're no longer living in prison or strung on drugs. So kind of thank God I got away from them. My little brother was shot 5 times and survived. He was actually shot in Sacramento, California. One of my closest friends growing up was recently, this is just 2.5 years ago, was shot 12 times and survived. But now he's in prison for like the next 20, 30 years. So that's the kind of environment I came from, ladies and gentlemen. So when I say sports saved my life, it legitimately did. And I got a football scholarship to the University of St. Mary's in Kansas. In 2010, I was in what's called the small school NFL combine base. All that means is if you go to a small school, they'll go ahead and send you to like a regional combine. If you do very well there, then they'll send you to the one that everyone knows about in Indianapolis. That just happened like a couple weeks ago. So that didn't happen for me. So I kind of figured I was going to do next. I got my degree in psychology. Originally, I wanted to be a marriage counselor. Then I got married to my wife and decided no, I wanted to be a marriage counselor. It's kind of that happened. Still married, thank God. But I had to figure out what to do next. And found out the number one reason people were splitting up was because of finance. So I said, okay, I should probably work in that industry. So I remember one night praying and I was just like, okay, what am I supposed to do with my life? What's next? And the Lord just kind of spoke to me, hey, go apply for JP Morgan. So I got up and I was like, JP Morgan. All right. So I started working on this application in the afternoon. And part of this application was like a math test, like an algebra test, to be honest with you. I was like, what the heck is going on? Why am I taking a freaking algebra test? And I ended up asking my sister-in-law, who at the time was a banker at a credit union, I was like, did you have to do a math test when you applied for your role? And she was like, nah, not at all. And I got so frustrated with this freaking math test, I just was like, man, I ain't doing this crap no more. I just stopped in the middle of it and grabbed my wife, went to go watch a movie. The movie had to be trashed. I still don't remember what it was to this day. And I remember getting home, it was probably like, 11:30 at night, close to almost 12 a.m. And I had that same impression upon me, the Lord, just like get up and finish the application. So I did. Got up and finished this math test. I finished probably like around 1:30 in the morning. And that was a Friday night going into like Saturday morning. And I got a call that next Tuesday from a lady named Jeannie Cox. I'll never forget Jeannie. She was awesome. She's like, hey, how you doing? This is Jeannie Cox calling from JP Morgan. Wanted to reach out and talk to Tyler Osborne. I was like, yeah, this is me. Like, yeah, we just got your application. And you did extremely well on the math part. And I was like, did I really? I'm like, okay, cool. I was like, all right. I was just like, so I'd love to go ahead and set you up on an interview. It's like, okay, great. So I ended up having an interview in Mountain View, California at a location out there for JP Morgan. Ended up going in, did pretty well at the branch manager of that location. He was like, okay, can you come back in like an hour or so and talk with our GM, our general manager or whatnot, or district manager, whatever he was. And I was like, okay, cool. So I came back about an hour later, spoke with this guy. And for like the next, hour or so, he was just kind of grilling me about how I didn't have a job for the past like year. And he just couldn't get over the fact that I was training for the NFL. He could not get over that fact at all. It was just something that he couldn't get over. So I walked out there like, yeah, I probably didn't get that job. And Jeannie called me again, probably like 2 days later. It's like, hi, how'd it go? And I was like, yeah, I don't think I got the job. It's like, really, what happened? I explained everything that happened. And she's like, you know what? I'm gonna set you up with a whole nother interview outside this guy's jurisdiction, and we'll kind of go from there. I said, okay, cool. So I ended up having another interview with a guy in Fremont, California by the name of Eric Powell. And Eric sat down with me and we're sitting there talking. And for the next hour and a half, all he did is speak to me about football. So complete different situation. One guy didn't understand it. This guy just kept talking to me about it. He wanted to understand my mindset, the disciplines I had, playing college football, being able to do those things. And From there, I got set up with another interview with a lady named Vicky in Cupertino, California. That's how I started my path with JP Morgan and be in the financial world.
Gotcha. Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's awesome. It's really impressive you made it out of that, that San Jose and just rough childhood too.
Yeah, thank
Um,
God. For sure.
Gone
For
on to
sure.
do great things. So and then you were at JP Morgan for only a little while,
Yeah, I
right?
was with
Or
them for about 2 years. That's correct. I was only with them for about 2 years. Part of the reason was one, I couldn't stand the demographic of who they only allowed me to work with. Basically, if a person didn't have like 100,000 liquid cash or more, we couldn't sit down and have a conversation. And that just meant there's a lot of people out there that I couldn't necessarily help. And then secondly, I found out how much they weren't paying me. That's kind of the second part to that. I found out how much they weren't paying me. I'd help somebody do like a $500,000 rollover an old 401k/IRA, and I had made like 2 grand in 1 hour, which is cool. At that time, I was like 22 years old, and I was fired up about that. And I went home and just did some research and found out if I would own my own firm, that 2,000 would have been closer to like 30 grand. I was like, what the heck? That's a big difference. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So I had to figure out a way to get out from there. And eventually I met somebody side. He'd mentor, train me, and coach me what I could do to have my own firm. And just kind of did everything he told me to do. And then a year later, I had my own business.
Yeah. Wow, that's awesome. It takes a lot of courage too to start on your own, especially after leaving, comfort, safety net of a easy paycheck. Probably, I mean, even if you were getting ripped off, it's still a good, still probably good money. Um,
Yeah, I agree. It's not easy to go from being a 9 to 5, employee to 100% entrepreneur and business owner. It's not an easy transition for anyone who does it. Is it worth it? Yes. Is it easy? No. I definitely say that for sure. I agree.
yeah. So, and then that's when you started Blessed Family Ventures.
Yes, that's when I started my own company back then. Correct.
Yeah, oh, I love it. I love the mission too. Do you mind sharing kind of your thesis around that business?
Yeah, yeah. Our vision and goal is to help people get into entrepreneurship, train, mentor, develop them. A lot of times, the people are coming in wanting to be part of the financial world, and that's usually a lot of the experience that I do have there. And we mentor them, train them, coach them, develop them on how to go ahead and be a business owner, then help them develop. And once they become one, they're on their own for the most part, but they're in business for themselves, but not by themselves in the beginning.
Got it. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I know you focus a lot on kind of mindset,
Mhm.
right, and habits. What do you coach your people on? Like, what does right look like in terms of financial habits?
For one, I think the main habit that a lot of people don't have, and I don't want to say not everyone, but just a lot of people I come across, a lot of people don't even pay themselves first, which is probably one of the most simple habits and kind of sounds a little cliche, but it's the blunt truth. People get their paycheck and they pay everyone else first instead of going ahead and paying themselves first. And when I see that happen all the time, I'm like, why would you work so hard? And then as soon as you get your paycheck, you don't put nothing aside for yourself. So that's one habit that I
Mm.
see. Another one I see is people don't have a proper budget either. They don't know how to budget because typically that's not even taught in schools. You go to elementary school, graduate from college, learn nothing about finance. As soon as you get out of school, life is about money. So I've seen people not have a budget. Next, as far as that, I see a lot of people do things in their own name. And what do I
Mm.
mean by that? Most people don't have a trust. Most people don't have LLCs. Most people don't have things in which you want to get things out of your name. You want to be able to own nothing, control everything. I don't know if that makes sense. Does that make sense to you?
Mm.
You want
You,
me to
you
elaborate?
protect yourself with the LL.
You can protect yourself with an LLC, but you go even further with the trust. So you have the trust that actually owns the LLC, and then you set the LLC up in a state in which you have what's called anonymity. And anonymity just means that you have, no one knows who owns it. So you set up in states like Wyoming or Delaware, places like that, in which if they look up your business, they don't know who owns it. They just know that it's there. So there's just ways to go ahead and do that. If you set up in other states outside of a few states like that, then people still know who you are and they can still kind of get to you. So there's just ways and structures that a person should have, even if they're not a business. You can still have a trust, get things out your name, and just have more protection. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
So,
definitely.
so a lot of people don't have that stuff, and that's things I like to focus and help people with because there are a lot of people in which if they just know these, and it's not hard to do any of these things. These are not hard. It's just we don't have the knowledge, and that's kind of the problem right now. A lot of people just don't have the knowledge on setting some of this stuff up.
Yeah, for sure. They got to listen to this podcast.
Exactly. Absolutely. Absolutely.
How much do you recommend people put away from themselves? Do you have a percentage of their income, or like is it just case by case?
It's usually case by case, but I like what's called the 70-10-20 rule. So live off of 70% of your income. If you have debt, you can go ahead and put 10% towards your debt and then save 20% uh towards your emergency fund and or your investments. Now, if you're in so much debt you need to pay it off a lot faster, then flip the 20 and 10 and let that be the debt and the other one be the investment. But I kind of say that 70-10-20 rule for sure. That can be and as a person grows in their income, now you just have a set structure of what to do with it.
Mm, yeah. Oh, I love that. Resist that temptation to, spend more as you too.
Correct, because I think majority of us humans, we have what's called lifestyle creep. Not every single person, but a lot of times when people make more money, they typically just want to go spend a lot more of it as well and not necessarily start thinking about saving more of it. But if you already have a structure in which, hey, I'm living off of this, I'm setting aside this, I'm setting aside this, even as your income grows, that just means you're still putting away more money too, because the percentages didn't change. You just went ahead and just have more money now. The number value may change, but not the percentage changes, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I love that. I I think I was first exposed to that idea just studying Benjamin Franklin, actually,
hmm hmm
because that's exactly how he recommends. I think it's his autobiography talks about it, but like as he made more and more money, he didn't let his lifestyle get out of control, and he was able to put more and more away as time went on.
Absolutely. And I'd even take it a step further that let's say if a person does start increasing their income rapidly, if you could keep your same lifestyle for 3 to 5 years that you had before you started to get a bunch of money, you're going to go ahead and exponentially grow your net worth and your wealth faster. The now that's hard because that's what's called delayed gratification. And as
Yeah,
kids, we hated that. You know what I mean? You get good grades, we'll take you here. Like as adults, you're like, nah, I want it now. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? So if we go ahead and delay gratification for a little bit, and then you'll be able to reap the benefits for kind of the rest of your life as far as that if people go ahead and do that. But that just takes a lot of discipline to do that.
yeah. I love it. People need to hear that more and more. But yeah, the payoff is well worth it, in the end.
Absolutely. 1,000% agree.
Yeah, I'd love to talk a little more about the kind of the structure, financial infrastructure for people, savings and investment. What does that look like for say a small business owner?
Okay, so if a small business, for one, what I've noticed is that a lot of times business owners, when they start getting into business, usually start off being a sole proprietor. So want to get out of that structure as soon as you possibly can. If you can, right away, go open yourself up an LLC. Once you get over, I'd say probably when you get close to about 100,000 per year, you can go ahead and start filing your LLC as an S corporation. You would need some bookkeeping for that, but that just adds a layer of protection. But also, you get out this instance in which you have to stop paying self-employment tax with the LLC. So you want to kind of get out of that right away. Now, from there, obviously, I think probably some of the most important things when it comes to a business is having the proper operations. If you're not good at operations, you need to go hire someone right away. Hire someone to help you with your operations, whether it be assistants, that could be a spouse, it could be your kids, whatever. Someone needs to be doing your operations. Now, when it comes to the investing side, when you own a business, there are opportunities there for small business owners that I notice most people don't take advantage of. There is something called an executive bonus plan, which is also known as Internal Revenue Code 162, which allows a business owner to actually go ahead and get a tax deduction for putting money into this for themselves. And that could end up being
Mm.
used for retirement as well. It's a write-off too, which is pretty cool. But it's Internal Revenue Code 162. So a lot of people are not even taking advantage of that are business owners. So you can actually write off portions of what you're making from the business into an executive bonus plan, and that can end up working towards your retirement later on down the road.
Wow. Yeah, that's powerful. I love that. And on the topic of tax reduction, our listeners are a lot of business owners gearing up probably to sell their business at some point. Do you have any advice around how they should be thinking about capital gains before they sell their business?
That's very so. First of all, I ain't a tax guy. Let's make sure we got that. I do know some things, but there, as far as when it comes to capital gains, Man, you got to talk to a CPA because I'm not going to sit and act like I know everything when it comes to that portion of it. I typically partner with CPAs. So I have a CPA on staff that works with me, but I don't know all the tax stuff when it comes to that. So they need to talk to a CPA before they did that. Now, depending upon, some of their goals and the long-term strategies, there's things that they can potentially move their money into to help delay some of those taxes. But for the most part, you need to talk to a CPA for sure.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Hmm.
I know just from people I work with, a common strategy is to, avoid getting taxed for as much as possible. So like if you can get that payment paid out over a few years, that's one way to avoid it.
Correct.
There's a lot of strategies. There's a 1031 exchange people could take advantage of
For
potentially.
real estate, for sure. Yep. Yeah, true. And then I've heard of strategies where people they have foundations, they own a foundation, and they could actually end up giving away some of that money to the foundation. That foundation has to go ahead and I believe give 5% off to another type of entity that has to be like helping people in some way. And that's just another kind of strategy right there. Now, like I said, I'm not a CPA, so but there is a way that you can go ahead and but you have to obviously have to own the foundation first. That's like a whole setup. So there's a whole trust foundation LLC setup that your person can end up getting into that can end up helping a person dang near get their income and taxes to less than 5%. So, but like I said, I'm not a CPA. I just know about the strategy, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's important, definitely. Yeah, and sure the focus of your show is your podcast is all about, financial strategy. So that's why I was just curious because I know you know a lot about the topic.
For sure, for sure. Yes, it is. The show is mainly about finances, and then I do similar to you. I interview business owners to pick their brains, learn about them, and also, let them give their advice about being in business and starting business and stuff like that. For sure. But yeah, a lot of it is strategy. A lot of what we do is more of it's teaching on how to get retired, stay retired, protect your wealth, and pass on to the next generation. That's a lot of what we talk about on the show.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Yeah, I saw you talk a lot about legacy as well. I like that word a lot, but it can be a little like, what is that? What does that really mean? I'm curious your perspective on that. And like, is there sometimes a contradiction or a balance there between that, I mean, legacy and just building generational wealth?
Now, it depends on what you want your legacy to be. I think for me, and I'm only speaking for me, and people that typically come to me to talk about this, I think legacy is going to be, yes, you're going to be leaving some money, but also it's going to be the values and morals that you're going to leave to your family as well. What type of value system do you have? Like, because I've heard of so many people who've left money and it's corrupted their kids. All right. It ended up hurting them because they didn't understand money. They didn't understand the value behind it. It wasn't their dollar they had to work for. So they went off and recklessly spent it. And now their, family is left off worse. They're left off worse when they got the money than before they had it. So there needs to be values and structures. So a lot of times when we're setting up things like trust, obviously, so when it comes to legacy planning in general, typically you have what's called a will and a trust, right? And those listening, you probably already know what a will and trust is. If you don't, a trust is going to be what owns all the assets. It's going to be the bucket that holds everything inside of it. That's the trust. Then the will, it just tells how it's supposed to be dispersed or what to do with the access to the money, things like that. So will is instructions. The trust is the actual entity that holds everything. That's kind of how that works. Okay. The trust even has its own tax ID number. Okay. So that's kind of how that works there. So anyways, so what you can do is set it up into which you have morals and values built in that you can only access this money when you're doing either some type of business that's going to go ahead and help and replenish the trust, or you're going to go ahead and use it for educational purposes. You're not going to use it just for reckless things like I'm going out for, a 2-week vacation. Like, no, you can't have access to the trust for that. You have to be doing something that's going to go ahead and help benefit the trust. You could even set up to which, hey, unless you go ahead and graduate from college, with your master's degree, you don't get access to the trust. So you could find ways to make sure that you're adding value to your heirs and not just giving them a bunch of money. Because I truly believe money in the hands of someone who doesn't understand it is like giving a baby a machine gun. It's dangerous, right? So there's ways you could set it up into which you want to make sure that your heirs do receive value from and understand the money that they're getting. So I think For one, for me, at least for me and my family, we're big on values, the values that I want to leave off to my children, right? In my household, we believe in five things: faith, family, fitness, finances, and fun, and getting better in every single one of those assets. And the cool part is you get better in every single day. Like I already got my fitness in earlier today. I got my faith in earlier today. Now I'm finances. This is kind of me working right now, doing this podcast. I'm gonna do some more work when I get off here as well. And then later on, we'll go ahead and do some fun stuff too. So you could get it all in one day, and then I'll spend time with my family. So I'm big on that and my values. So what values do you want to leave off to your heirs? And that can be a part of what you put within the stipulations of your will and the trust when they have access to the money.
Yeah. Wow. I love that. Love that answer. I'm glad I asked that question. It's a great answer though. It's so true. I love the psychology behind that too, and making sure your money has tied to your values. I love that strategy with the trust as well. I hadn't heard about that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Do you look what type of values do you look for in businesses you invest with Blessed Family?
Yeah, for sure. What I'm looking for some typically is one, they're going to be coachable and committed. That's probably some of the two most important things when it comes with the type of person I'm looking for to be in business with us. You got to be coachable and committed. From there, I gotta like you. I'm not gonna like. I don't want to be someone I don't around someone I don't like, just because it's hard to be working with someone which you don't get along with. So if I don't feel like there's some type of connection, if I don't feel like we can grow together, if I don't feel like I'm gonna want you to be around my family, I be around your family, it's probably not gonna work because I'm such a family orientated person. So people who come into business with us, well, they're like family eventually. So I gotta like you. You gotta be coachable. You gotta be committed. Those are kind of the things I'm looking for when it comes to that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, those foundational values. Yeah, and on the business side, what types of things you find most valuable in terms of investment? Are there certain criteria that they need to hit, and is it certain industries that you look at?
A lot of times it's going to be for my industry in the financial world that most people are getting
Okay.
into. I have done some real estate stuff in the past, but it was more on like the STR side of things, like short-term rentals, which was cool. We made some good money, and which is awesome with that. And I learned a lot, gained a lot, and still doing it and stuff like that. But a lot of times it's going to be on my side when it comes to the financial world. And their investment up front, really, and the cool part about this, when people come to business with me, they're not really putting too much of an investment up front. It's really me investing into the person. So that's why I'm very selective with who I choose and who I work with, because not everyone's going to be a good fit, which is totally fine. There's 350 million people in the United States. Like, we'll find the right person. So that's not a big deal. So what I love about what I do is I'm not looking for an investment of what a person could put money into our company. I'm looking for the right person that I can help become a leader and go ahead and service more people out in the community. So it's really going to be about the individual. So when I'm looking for someone, I'm looking for leaders. If a person already has leadership qualities, that does help quite a bit for sure. Because for the industry that I'm in, I'm looking for leaders for sure. So I guess that's the quality. That's what I'm looking for. That's the investment. The investment is coming on my side. I'm gonna spend my time, my effort, my resources to go ahead and pour into this person, believing that they're going to become very successful. And when they do become successful, and I have their business up and running, it's their business. I'm gonna get between 10 to 15% on the value of their company for the rest of their life. But that just means they're up and running. It's theirs now. So that's kind of cool. That's kind of how we do it.
Yeah, no, it makes perfect sense. Yeah, another big topic of the show is AI and technology. I'd love to hear from your perspective. How are you implementing AI these
Man,
days, and how do you
it's
see it reshaping your industry?
for sure. I think AI is not only the future, it's also the now. For sure. It's also the now too. So it's funny you said that because I've literally just like my last few guests on my show have been like leaders of AI companies, which is pretty cool. But one thing that we're getting ready to incorporate is basically creating an AI agent of me. And through having, because I have a coaching program or whatnot, and creating an AI agent of me that a person can go ahead and purchase and they can ask questions to it all day, kind of like a chat GPT, but just for me and my mindset when it comes to everything that I do. That's one of the ways we're getting ready to incorporate it right now for us.
Yeah, oh, I love that. Yeah, um, I'm in an A community, and they just developed a very similar product for the guy who founded it, and it's fire. I mean, it's super good. Like I ask it any kind of questions with deals, and it gives me like way beyond a normal search result would.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then the cool part now too, I've used AI to help set up appointments for me as well, like making phone calls and stuff like that that I don't want to do. So I've done it like that too, which is pretty cool. So it's just so what I love about AI, it gives you the ability to implement the things that I don't feel like doing. If that makes any sense, right? So that's the cool part. Like setting appointments, cool. It can go ahead and do that. It can also go ahead and obviously market for you as well. So the cool part is that now that it's here, I'm just trying to find different ways on how I could utilize it for my business and implement as well. But as of right now, those are the two strategies that we're doing.
Yeah, no, I love it. Is Yeah, do you see it affecting the industry in terms of there's that argument people are having is like, is it going to replace certain industries? They're saying like service-based industries, lawyers, accountants, those jobs may all be at risk. I'm curious what your thoughts are on that.
I don't think it will replace, like some stuff will get replaced. Like, yes, I think some things will get replaced, but lawyers, nah. Well, because I don't think an AI can give proper judgment like the judicial system can. And I'm not gonna say that's always legit because there's some corrupt people in there too. God bless them though. Anyways, whole different topic, whole different subject. But anyways, I don't think lawyers will get replaced. Accountants, I don't think so too because the laws are always changing. And what I notice with AI is it can give you the proper information. It cannot always do the actual application. Does that make
Mm,
sense? So there's going to be some things that will still need human touch and human capabilities. Now, for a lot of things in which, example, when I used to work for JP Morgan, right, we'd obviously at Chase Banks, you'd see tellers. You'd see tellers there. And I used to tell the tellers, oh, hey, they're building these machines. You need to become a banker or an advisor because your job's going to get taken away. Ha ha ha. Like, we can't say that happening. Like, okay, you say that now. Right. And I'm not talking about an ATM machine. ATM machines were already there before I got to the bank. I wasn't there that early in the game. Way back for that. So when you go into JP Morgan's, a lot of them now, they have like these big kiosks. And at this kiosk, you can basically do anything. You can go ahead and um, deposit checks. You can go ahead and take out to like up to 3 grand. You can go ahead and pay your bills. Whatever you need to do that a teller would do, this kiosk does the exact same thing. And I remember
mm,
telling them before this kiosk came out, like, start looking at something else. And they didn't believe me. Well, now when you go into a location, either it be a JP Morgan, it'd be a Wells Fargo, it'd be a Charles. It don't matter where you go as far as that. Before, when I used to go into the bank with my mom, there'd be like 10 to 15 tellers, right? Now you usually see two or three, and then everything else, people just go to these little kiosks. Why? Because they can do the same job that the human can do because it wasn't too difficult of a job. So jobs that are a little bit more difficult, I think, aren't going anywhere. But sometimes some things like calling customer service and stuff like that, man, AI might take some of that stuff over because you can literally program something to go ahead and handle and answer those questions. But lawyers, accountants, nah. Like I'm not taking the chance of going on no robot when it comes to my taxes. Like I'm not. I need someone with a P10. Like nah, heck no. I don't need no robot trying to take that over for sure.
yeah. At least not anytime soon.
Hopefully not. Hope.
Yeah, no, I think you're spot on. There certain jobs are definitely in danger. I was talking. It's funny on my podcast too. I just interviewed two like CEOs of AI companies, which is funny too. But one was saying he was about to hire this marketing agency to help him with his business, and he get like received the whole demo and everything, and did the math and figured out how much it would cost to build it out with AI agents to do exactly what the marketing company was going to do. And he was able to do it. Like he has a coding background, granted,
Yeah.
but he was able to do it in a weekend, exactly the product that the agency was going to offer him.
And they're probably gonna way overcharge them too.
Right.
Yeah,
So
I can imagine. I can imagine. So if you're brilliant enough to know how to create that stuff, that's a benefit. That's a huge. I mean, that's why he's the CEO of an AI company. That's awesome.
it's neat. It's crazy where it's going is all, and is becoming more accessible to even non-coders now, right?
Yes, yes, it is. I mean, I'm finding out that a lot of times people just partner with the coder and they start running the dang start open up a company and pay their coder a certain percentage of whatever profits they're gonna get and have an AI company now. So it's taking over for sure.
Yeah. Wow. It's exciting times to live in for sure.
It is. I just hope it doesn't get to the point like iRobot. You know what I mean? I just don't want. I don't know if you've seen that movie with Will Smith or not, but nah, I don't want none of that. I watched this. I watched a movie probably like what was it? Close to a year or so ago called Megan. I was like, no, I don't want none of that happening. I don't know if you've seen that either, but these.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Vicky.
I don't want. Yeah, Vicky was that the second version? Was part two? Like, there's Megan 1 and there's Megan 2, and like there was like a bad one, and I don't know, but. I don't want that crap happening. That's my main thing. Like, let's stay as far away from that as we possibly can. But as far as helping businesses, I'm all for it. But I don't want no robots walking around my house trying to give me. Nah, I don't want none of that. I don't want that.
Yeah, it's a fine line.
It's funny though because with my kids, like whenever we use Chat GPT or the AI, they're like, we always say thank you. I'm like, why do you say thank you to it? I'm like, just in case something happens, they can remember I was nice to them.
Yeah, you never know.
You never know. If all of a sudden these robots try to take over the world, they're like, he used to say thank you and please all the time. We're gonna spare him just a little bit.
Yeah, Tyler was nice.
It was nice, exactly. So
and we're coming up on time here. We could probably talk forever, Tyler, but I appreciate you all the insight you gave today. I always leave the show if you could give one piece of advice for listeners today listening.
yeah, for sure. I heard this several years ago, but it was a concept called do it now. And what it means is stop procrastinating, right? The biggest nation in the world is procrastination. So many people procrastinate when it comes to life and whatever they have to get done. Just go do it now. Waiting on things never typically works out better for a person. So I'd say if I give anyone advice listening, go do it now. If you're like, when's the best time to start getting my finances right? Today. It really was yesterday. But let's just make sure, just go do it now. There's always things or steps you can take to get things done and start moving forward now. If you focus on getting 1% better every single day, in 100 days, you'll be 100% better. So let's just go ahead and do it now. Get things done, get after it, make it happen.
Love it. Well said, man. Yeah, I appreciate it. Really good nuggets in here today, Tyler. Man,
I appreciate
it. Yeah, absolutely. Where's the best place listeners can find you at?
You can visit my website, moneymasternation.com. You can go ahead and get on the website, and through the website, you get access to me. You get access to a free financial course if you want to go ahead and get into that. Also, you could find me on Instagram at moneymaster408. You can go ahead and reach me any of those two places.
Awesome. I'll leave that in the show notes.
I appreciate you, brother.
All right. Thanks, Tyler.
Exit algorithms. Scale smarter. Sell stronger.